Okay, welcome to our webinar on this Sunday morning. We do realize it's the summer, and mashallah, you guys are here. So thank you very much for turning up. This morning we have a very special guest, Miss Atiyah Ghulam, who is a grade level leader. So today's webinar is actually looking at education from a leader's perspective. So this is a session that I'm actually also looking forward to, and I'm sure it's going to be very beneficial at all levels, at leadership level, and as well for teachers that are on the ground. Thank you very much for joining us, and Miss Atiyah, over to you.
Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for the introduction, sister.
Very welcome.
Right, so as Sister Lena mentioned, I am talking about literacy leadership today and how we went from inadequate to good. To begin with, I just want to talk about my background. I am trained in the UK, and I joined a school not many years ago, and actually, when I joined the school, it was inadequate. And from the picture on this presentation, I would just like you to kind of share your thoughts about what's going on and what you think is happening with the picture. How does the lady feel? What are your thoughts? I mean, some of the things that Ofsted said to us was that the curriculum in early years is not effective. Staff do not have the necessary subject knowledge. The teaching of reading is inconsistent and pupils do not read well. These were the comments that were made from Ofsted. How do you think this picture resonates with what's being said by Ofsted? I'd love to know some of your thoughts. Would anybody like to share anything?
I mean, I just put it in the chat, but I think, seeing something like that or having this kind of feedback, I mean, I'm sure it makes staff think, what's the point? And
Yeah,
staff morale would be really low.
really low. And
Mm.
that moves me on nicely to what I'm going to say next. Um, Staff are going to feel low, okay? Any form of offset inspection, when you have an inspection, you're nervous anyway to begin with. And having feedback like that is very hard. Um, and it does affect staff well-being. So the agenda today is we're going to talk about the literacy challenge that we faced, the strategy, the intent, the implementation, and the impact. What worked, even on a budget, because we were very tight on money, and leadership reflections and the key takeaways. So, whenever you join any new space, any new organization, any new school, or if you're taking your first steps in leaderships, you have to take a moment, you have to pause, you have to listen and reflect. These are the key things that I would say, because in that first term, it's so difficult when, as leaders, you are so passionate about making that change, and you want to make that change, and you can see this is not going right, and sometimes we make the mistake of just diving straight in and saying this is wrong and this needs to be improved. But in actual fact, in that first term, we need to pause, we need to listen, and we need to reflect, because that's what truly makes you understand the school. That's what will help you to build the relationship so you can then build the foundations. And I can't stress that enough. That's something that I've learned in my leadership journey. Like you really have to build foundations, and you have to make those mutual relationships with the people that you work with to bring about any kind of change. So the challenges that we faced, and I'm sure many other schools as well face similar challenges, was that there were very limited early reading outcomes. There was no consistent phonics scheme. There was a weak reading culture across the school, and literacy really lacked visibility and clarity. Teachers lacked ownership of literacy, and there was a really tight budget. And I know schools really struggle with money and finances. So the suggestions that I'm going to be putting into my PowerPoint presentation today is based on a tight school budget, because that's the challenge that we faced. And that's one of the reasons why we were inadequate. Okay, so when you look at any form of change, you need to look at the intent. So we had to reframe the narrative. Literacy is a whole school responsibility. It should be a priority for everyone. So, for example, your admin, your reception, your PE teacher, sometimes your dinner ladies, sometimes, we oftentimes forget about these people, but these people play a part in literacy. The way the children address them, the way that they address the children in terms of oracy, everybody should be on board. It's just not the teachers, it's not only the SLT, it's everybody in the school has to have a passion or has to be told about, or trained, sorry, should I say, trained about how literacy works within our school. We had to have a reading curriculum that is sequenced with clear year-by-year expectations. Now, this is really, really important because you can't throw teachers into a classroom and say, you know what, why haven't you done so-and-so? Why have children not known full stops, capital letters when they're not given the year-by-year expectations? So we had to make long-term plans where teachers knew by the end of year one or by the end of reception, for example, the children must know this. They must know full stops, capital letters, adjectives, nouns. So teachers were aware, parents were aware, and students were also aware. And we also had to promote a culture of reading and learning rooted in Islamic values, because our school really focused on Islamic values. Now, different schools have different visions, they have different values, they have different missions. Try not to change that as a leader. Focus on the school's mission and value and build upon that. Build what's already there, the foundations, and lay those bricks. Because if you go in too strong and you start changing the values or the mission, it will, especially if you've only got a certain amount of time to change a school from inadequate to good, you won't be able to do so much in such little time. So focus on what's already there, build those foundations. So for us, it was Islamic values. And I'm going to move on shortly on how we kind of embedded those Islamic values into our day-to-day literacy. And it was a game changer. And I want to talk about well-being, because if you're going to reframe any form of narrative, and if you're an inadequate school, you have to remember the well-being of the teachers is very, very low. They wouldn't want to do any work, they're feeling pressured. So make sure that whenever you have some sort of agenda, whether it's CPD, you have CPD in the calendar for well-being, team building. There's so much that you can do with your team that will make them feel lifted through the whole experience. And I'm going to move on how you coach your teachers as well, and how to make lesson observations much more effective. So let's talk about the curriculum. I don't know if anybody's heard of Step Lab, but Step Lab is a fantastic platform. If you're on a budget, you've got no money, use the free resources, because there are so many. There's many resources on the internet, if you do your research, that can help you to develop a love of learning, develop a culture within school where teachers are learning from each other, rather than, just many times people get observed and they feel so deflated from an outcome. And I'm a firm believer of coaching. If you have a specific outcome, how do you work on that and how do you build on that as a team? So within the school, how do you develop a culture that is like that? And if you look at Step Lab, they have a 4-part series where they look at coaching and how to give effective coaching. Coaching is supposed to bring that teacher to life, give that teacher some confidence, work with the teacher, mentor them. It's not meant to bring teachers down, because you're already in an adequate school. You don't want teachers to feel even more low in their self-esteem. So coaching is very effective. Please do go and watch Step Lab videos. They're amazing. You'll learn a lot from them on how to question teachers, to get the answer from them, so they feel like they have some value. It's really, really important. And when you're planning for the whole school, now, one of the things that we lacked from our offset inspection and why we were inadequate is because our long-term plans were not, there was no cross-curricular learning, there were no themed activities, themed units. It was a standalone lessons, and that's something that you want to refrain from, especially if you want literacy to be embedded across the whole curriculum. So long-term plans and collaboration. These are your two key priorities if you want to change the curriculum in a school. I've got an example here where we had Lighthouse Keepers Lunch, which is one of my favorite stories. If any of you have read the story, please, or used it in your lessons with your pupils, please do write it down in the comments below because I'd love to know. So the Lighthouse Keepers Lunch is a fantastic story and the kids absolutely love it. In design and technology, they made their own lunch for the lighthouse keeper because his lunch was actually stolen by seagulls in the story. So they got to make his lunch. They also wrote instructions down as a form of literacy. So they wrote the instructions on how to make that lunch step by step. They also then moved on in art and design, where they looked at beach huts. They designed their own beach hut. And then in science as well, they looked at materials, and also in math, they looked at word problems that were linked to the beach and summertime. So you can see how one story can be implemented, the theme could be implemented across the whole curriculum. And that's what we designed. And that's what was most effective because Ofsted want to see that progression year on year. So for example, in year one, what are the children learning? They should build up in year two and it should carry on building up the learning until they reach year six. So this was really, really effective. And also embedding a phonics scheme. I can't stress this enough. Guys, phonics is so important. And if you're anything like me, passionate and crazy about phonics, you know how much a puppet could make the difference in a phonics lesson. So we used Read Write Ink, okay? And we had Fred the Frog, and he didn't just come with us in our journey with phonics, but he was also taken to the library with us. He was dressed up on Eid. We wanted to make the learning fun for the children. And so Fred the Frog was key in bringing phonics across the curriculum, not just in phonics lessons. Phonics is not limited to phonics lessons. It should be incorporated in every single lesson. And that's how you go from the inadequate to a good or even outstanding when you see children writing and learning across the curriculum. So yes, make the curriculum fun, make it ambitious, and make it exciting for our young learners. And I want to talk about, moving on from that, is how then do you train yourself? How do you know how to design a curriculum? It's so difficult, especially when you don't have no scheme of learning, if you're on a tight budget. You really have to educate yourself. And when you have no budget and there's no money in the pot and you're struggling as a school, the thing that I turned to was websites. Now, the Bell Foundation is a fantastic resource for EAL children. They have the descriptors on there. You can assess your EAL children from the beginning of the year to the end of the year based on their speaking and language, communication, and to kind of see their progress within the year. They do webinars for you to help you to assess that. So the Bell Foundation, they give free webinars. They've given you free descriptors. They even have international descriptors if you need to have that for your setting. So do check them out. I also looked at Open University's Reading for Pleasure. Fantastic website, honestly. Look, they have a lot of case studies on there. And remember, what works in one school does not necessarily work for your school. So the Open University is a fantastic platform where you can look at case studies. They've also got this audit for your school as well, where you can audit your school and kind of see where you're at as a school and what to build on. So the Open University is a fantastic one. It's free. It will tell you all about reading for pleasure and how to develop that within the school, because reading is so important for our young learners. So EEF as well, fantastic resource for research. Remember, anything that you do, anything that you change, look at the research, make sure that it's research informed, because sometimes what happens is you think that the previous school that you worked at did an amazing job in phonics and they do it this way and it worked in that school. But in fact, in your new school, there might be a different dynamic of students. And so you need to look at the research, what works for this school in terms of literacy. So that's a very good website. And then you have the National Literacy Trust. Now, this is amazing. Again, a free resource that you can have live webinars on with authors. So if you can't afford to have authors coming in to do webinars and illustrations with children, this website does host authors and it is completely free. Most of them are anyway. and authors can come and join you in classes online, and they kind of go through the book that they've written and the illustrations too, and children can also do an activity as well, so it's a really fun one. And if you're anything like me, I'm a mum of three, so I hardly get any time to listen sometimes to speeches, lectures, TED talks. um, and so what I do is, whilst I'm cooking in the kitchen, I'd put some Apple podcasts on. You've got Offset Talks, which is a fantastic one. It talks about the latest, strategies, latest papers that have come out from Ofsted. And then you have the evidence-based education podcast as well, which again talks about strategies that you can use in your classroom. And more recently, I've been looking at School Talk. Now, if you're based in the UAE, School Talk by Chris is the one that you need to listen to, because he does actually interview people from the UAE, so head teachers, and he talks about what works in their schools and strategies that we can implement in our classes as well. And the same with Education Leaders by Shane. And also a recent one that I've kind of gone into is She Leads Because She Can. And as women, it's really, women being in leadership, we need a lot of information. We need a lot of support with from other women and organization. So She Leads Because She Can is fantastic if you want to go into headship, if you want to learn more about women in leadership. So please do check that one out too. And that moves me nicely onto building your local connections. You have your online connections, right? You network on LinkedIn, you learn from so many people, you listen to podcasts, but really where the magic happens is within your local connections and community. So we had a tight budget, like, and I've mentioned many times now. So the local connections are key if you have a low budget. You need to look at libraries, your local schools in the area, the vicinity. Can you partner up with them? And your stakeholders. It's so important to bring your stakeholders on board and know your parents if you want to improve literacy. I mean, we had a fantastic set of parents in my school where some of them were authors, doctors. So we brought them into our school, and some of them did storytelling sessions, and they did sing-alongs with children. So look at your network and build on your network and bring people in that can really change literacy within your school and develop that excitement around literacy. And as you can see in the picture as well, we built strong relationships with our local community, especially the librarians. They would come in, they would do storytelling sessions. Our children would go to the library, they would meet authors. And our librarian was fantastic. She even gave us books that the library no longer needed. So look outside of the box when you don't have a big budget. Connect with people who can help you. Another form of implementation that we kind of found to be effective was Book of the Month. Now, this is so important, and I can't stress this enough. Well-being and literacy go hand in hand. It really does. And also cultural capital, which means that, learning about the big wider world. This is everything linked to literacy. If you want to learn about the big wide world or emotional intelligence, you've got to get the kids hooked onto books. So every month we did a Book of the Month, and we shared this book with the whole school. And the whole school would then do an activity based on the book. So we have, for example, The Proud is Blue. The children had to design their own hijabs and focus on anti-bullying within their hijab style and design. And then we have Cranky Cream Says Alhamdulillah, another amazing story, amazing author. And the children had to then design their own emotions based on the story. And then we have the fantastic book, which I'm sure many of you have used, and it's one of my favorites actually, Ramadan Around the World. Again, amazing. You could do so much with this book. Think outside the box. What we did was that each class was allocated a country, and they had to write about Ramadan all around the world. And then we compiled a whole school book based on the story. So what I'm trying to say is that building on that reading culture means getting the whole school involved, getting teachers involved, and really celebrating different stories and different events like Black History Month or health and well-being through books, whole school. That really does help their personal development. Now, that when you have a tight budget, right, you have sometimes it's really difficult because as a literacy lead, you want to buy all the books in the world for the children, but you have no money and no means. So what we did was we did a reading sponsorship for children. I'm not sure how this works in the UAE, but in the UK, we did, this was something that was common practice among students. So we wanted our school library to kind of reflect our curriculum, because we did audit the books, and some of the books were outdated and some of the books were not linked to our curriculum. So we asked some of our children to raise some funds. So in the half-term holiday, they did some reading and parents would sponsor them, friends, family. And we managed to get a lot of books in. And I made sure that I marked those books with a black spot because I didn't want the children to take them home. They were allowed to borrow books from the library, the school library, the class library, but these books specifically were linked to the curriculum. And so we made sure that they were high quality when we chose them. We made sure they linked to our topics, our long-term planning, and they really did help in terms of raising our literacy standards within all subjects. And something that really helped with this and to make sure that, you know, learning was fun, it was fresh, because let's face it, children do get bored of books. If you keep one set of books in the classroom for the whole year, they're going to get bored. So what we did is that when we purchased our books, we made sure that we purchased not 5 of every book for every class. We purchased different books and we rotated them. So for example, if one class had a set of books, the next class would then have it the following month. So it was on a rotational basis, and it's really low cost. All you need is a cozy corner, a little bit of creativity, and you can really get the excitement in the classroom going for literacy and reading. And I know in the UK, we had something called book fairs. I know in the UAE, we also have book fairs, but it's about how you utilize those book fairs. So again, this is another form of implementation, literacy across the curriculum, but getting your parents on board with it. So book fairs are designed to bring money into the school, and also for children to develop that love of learning, going and choosing a book and paying for it and being excited about a new book. But you could also utilize the book fair in a different way. So the way that we did it, we had parent mornings, where parents would come in during the book fair and they would read to their children, and the children would have a really good time. I mean, it was fantastic. They would bond with their children because many of them were working parents, so they allocated some time off for these mornings and for these, especially when the book fair was here, because we kind of made it a big celebration. We built up the excitement. Teachers were reading to the children. They were doing arts and crafts related to stories. So really utilize what you have well. And when book fairs do come in, do more. Don't just leave it for just buying and selling. Another form of implementation as well, when it comes to writing, is look, writing and reading do go hand in hand, okay? But sometimes children are reluctant writers. And the way that we kind of change this up a bit is that we introduced publishing. The children were able to publish their work within a newsletter. So any form of writing, anything they've done, they could write about it within the newsletters as well. So we made it very unique and it was celebrated, and parents were also involved in that. So parents could actually write a piece as well. I think when you lead literacy, you kind of have to set a model. You yourself as a leader, what you expect for literacy, but also you have to build those relationships with parents and tell them what the expectation of literacy is. And if you can get a few parents on board when it comes to writing and reading, honestly, it makes a difference. And other parents then do buy in as well. So it's really important to focus on your parent network as well. I want to move on to something as well that's really made a huge impact in our school. We call it the special right books. Now, the special right books are used to measure progress from the beginning to the end of the school years. So, for example, if a child comes in at reception, they would write in their special book at the end of a unit, and that special right day would be really, really like relaxing. There'd be really nice music on, soothing classical music. You'd have your biscuits out, obviously check for nut allergy, guys, but you'd have your biscuits out, and it would be a really relaxing day for the children, and they would look forward to writing their piece in this special right book. And that book would then go with them from reception all the way to year six. So you could see that child's work from reception all the way to year six. And that really made them proud. It was something like, I think it was a proud moment for all of us, not just the child, but the teacher as well. And the teachers who have taught them from the beginning to the end of the academic year, seeing that progress for them is really phenomenal. I really recommend that one for everyone. Really, it does make a difference. Now, so I've just shared a few things in my journey from inadequate to good. I wish I could say more, but I'm very mindful of the time. And I know it's a holiday and everybody wants to relax. So I just want to reflect on, I just want to end on reflection of what the Ofsted report after 1 year from being inadequate to good kind of said. It kind of, everything that we did kind of came together in such a nice way. The pupils were now able to read at an age appropriate level. They mentioned that we had a balance without compromise. We had literacy and Islamic ethos with everything that happened in the school. Honestly, it was just phenomenal how we linked the two together. And in the UK, it can be quite difficult to do that, but we really had the right balance for those children. Leaders made reading a high priority. So we really made the children love reading, and it was daily. We had phonics sessions in the morning, we had phonics sessions in the afternoon because of how far behind we were, but we didn't let that become a burden on our students. Our morning sessions were structured, our afternoon sessions were more fun, exciting, you know, just learning about the sound, jumping games, PE games, just linked to the sound that they were learning for the week. Teachers had good subject knowledge. And I remember, if you remember back to the first slide, that was one of our weaknesses. That was the reason why we were inadequate, because we lacked subject knowledge. So teachers now were trained and they had good subject knowledge and learning. It was clear that there was cross-curriculum links within the whole structure of the curriculum. So it does take time, it does take effort, but you can get there. And I would say the key takeaway is start small, but with clarity. If you do not start small, like I mentioned at the beginning, you know, you really have to pause and reflect. Because if you don't start small, you will overwhelm your teachers and everybody. And I would say systems and people are a success. If you have no system, no structure, and you don't have the right people, you will fail. So really invest in your people. Instead of looking externally, look internally within your people and kind of do something to train those people, because there are a lot of people that we maybe undermine in our leadership, or we do not notice, especially the quiet teachers. You know, they have a lot of ideas. Bring everybody on board and see the best in everyone as a leader. And I would say the next thing is culture costs nothing. So invest, it links back to what I was saying about systems and people. Invest in relationships and build strong foundations. You will have, as a leader, so many ideas. You want to do forest school, you want to do learning outdoors. You know, you have so much passion for this subject, but really go back and focus on the foundations before you do anything. Because if the foundations are not right, then you can't build the bricks. And I would say, don't shy away from the inadequate. Really face it head on. Don't shy away from it. Don't feel like I failed. Don't feel like as a school, you know, it's all going to finish now. The school's going to close. No, think positively. Don't shy away. Think about your next step. Be strategic and kind of filter that. If you're not positive as a leader, it's not going to filter that. It's not going to filter down to the people that you're managing or you're leading. So make sure you're strong in your position and you're positive, so the people under you also feel positive. I just want to say thank you so much for having me. And please do complete the survey that I think Rahana is going to send with you and share with you. If there are any questions or anything that you want to talk about in terms of literacy within your school, then please do contact me on LinkedIn. I'm Atiyah Ghulami on LinkedIn. And you can also take note of my email address, atiyah.ghulam@gmail.com. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to help, because I know how hard it is to lead leadership in a school. So lead literacy, sorry, in a school. So yes, I'm more than happy to help. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, sorry, I was just muted there. Thank you very, very much for that. So many takeaways. I really enjoyed every single word. And mashallah, you're a natural.
Thank you.
You have a wealth of knowledge, Sister Atiyah, and obviously, your journey started off in the UK, and then you've brought clearly, like the implementation thing, the things that we can implement over here. And at the end of the day, I really think that we do need to go back to basics. Some of the things, we've just, lost along the way because of technology. And things like that. But you've really brought things back to basics. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
it's clear that you're very passionate. We've got a passionate leader among us, and you're a valuable resource. I've got so many takeaways, but for me, especially what resonated with me was the slowing down, pausing, reflecting, and then building on the community that you already have, which, as you said, does not cost money. So, and I think it's because ultimately that's what you did in your school. And you made use of your parents and your stakeholders, and that's what enabled you, to make that accelerated progress. Alhamdulillah, so many strategies, to implement, and they're all doable. They're all within everyone's reach. So many ideas. So thank you very much for that. It was
Thank you.
very enjoyable and very informative. So thank you, Atiyah.
Thank you.
All right, I'll pass on now to Miss Rayhana, who just wants to give us a short, um, ta just some information about the our calendar.
Assalamu alaikum everyone again. I just realized that my camera was on and I'm going back and forth on my phone and on the laptop having tea. And I was just like thinking the whole session was recorded with me doing that whole process. But alhamdulillah, it's all about being natural and, and everyone is comfortable. I just want to update everyone on the opportunities we have. I think all educators should be aware of because like Sister Thea shared, so much of wealth of information, but because people are most of the time working in silos, it doesn't cross over, people don't benefit. And with all these fantastic strategies, and I think most of them that Sister Thea shared crosses over into every subject area. Not only does it stay within English or within like primary. I've taken so many things like I can use in my own classrooms in sciences, and literacy is such a big avenue of development within the UAE and in worldwide as well, with regards to improving literacy in all subject areas. From that, I just want to take everyone back to our calendar. Our July calendar looks really, really busy. It actually looks shockingly busy. I didn't realize I've put in that many events, but mashallah, with the help of the sisters, it looks pretty full. The thing I want to really, really discuss is that there are opportunities here, which maybe a lot of the users of the calendar are not aware of. For example, the one where they are calling for speakers for the JES event. If you click on the link that's available here, it takes you to this page where you can, and the deadline is on the 25th. That's why I have placed it on the 25th, but the event actually takes place on the November 11th to 13th. This is a fantastic platform for teachers to share their insights and their experiences, their practices, whatever you want to showcase. This is an excellent venue to do so. I have been there personally. I've been part of just Dubai for years now, and it has so many potential items that you can demonstrate in. For example, if you have a school project, a workshop that you want to do, a panel discussion with a group of teachers, if you want to showcase students. I know from my own context, I've put in names for students showcasing, and they love teacher ownership, teacher agency. They love amplifying teacher voices. So this is a fantastic event to look forward to, and the deadline is coming pretty soon. The other one that I just, I stumbled upon and I felt this is such an amazing opportunity for us teachers, especially with AI coming into education, is something that's given by Chartered College of Teaching. Let me just see if, okay, yeah, it's here. So in this, as you can see, it's a free certified course, and you do not have to be a paid member of Chartered College of Teaching. By the way, this is a very prestigious platform. It is a paid membership to be part of this Chartered College of Teaching, but they're providing a non-member opportunity to go through their course, which is based on AI integration in education. A few members have done it from PulseED, and it's fantastic. Please get on board with this one. Register as soon as you can. You can utilize your summertime to do some PD on your off time. You're just, you feel like doing some PD and upskilling, which is going to help you, inshallah, in the September 25, 26. The other thing that really, really struck my attention is this one, which is from British Council. Again, you, as a non-member, if you are a non-member, it's a free membership for British Council anyways. You can register, or you can just go in directly to this training page and get into their courses. The courses do have a deadline at the 30th of September. I think with the time we have in the summer, we can incorporate some of these PDs in, and they are not always focused on English subjects. They can be very wide in their offering, in their takeaways. For example, inclusive classrooms, gender in language educations, these things do flow into our subject areas, various subject areas. So I think these few opportunities that are coming up are really, really good, and does improve the way we can inform ourselves within our teaching practices. There are a lot of speaking opportunities that are coming up within Dubai and internationally in webinars. And we do need to amplify our voices. The more we amplify our voices, the more we are heard, the more things can progress within the education. Because I and the team, we all believe that the people who are on the ground are the ones who are the change makers. They're the ones who realize the change and the ones that can bring impactful change. So the more voices we have, the better the change looks, inshallah, in the future. If you have any questions regarding the calendar, please do let me know. If you also have any feedback, like, oh, the calendar looks really overwhelming, could you do something with the editing, anything like that, please do let us know. We are looking for reflective feedback to improve our practices as well. Any questions, anyone? The form link is available. Please do give us your feedback. It also helps us improve our practices. And I would love to thank Sister Atiyah taking her time out from her weekend schedule with her family and sharing all these amazing takeaways with us. Really, we really appreciate it. One of the best sessions that I have attended, alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much. Honestly, thank you for your kind words. And honestly, it's been a fantastic experience getting to know you and Sister Lina as well. And I've really enjoyed today's webinar. I'm really passionate about literacy. And honestly, if anybody does need any help, I'm more than happy to help. Do just message me on LinkedIn. And inshallah, we'll probably look forward to doing some more webinars as well.
Inshallah, inshallah. I've shared Sister Atiyah's QR code and her email and LinkedIn name on the PulseED WhatsApp group. Pretty soon we'll be launching our LinkedIn PulseED page as well. Hopefully we'll have all our sessions uploaded there so everyone can view it on LinkedIn as well. And thank you everyone for joining us. Sister Lina, any closing words?
I keep doing that. Thank you very much for joining, everyone. It was a lovely morning, and yeah, see you next week, inshallah.